Hi everyone, this is the podcast Posse, and my name is Brianna. I'm here with Daniel, Jade, and Noah, and today we're going to be discussing about how we started the group, and also about how we decided to go into full details about the project that we are in, and also to how we communicated as a group. But first, let's go ahead and talk about how we started the group itself, how we come about with the project.
Sure, I think I can start with that. So we all came together initially with our group communication class, as you guys know. And the funny thing is kind of immediately within the first couple of weeks, we started sitting next to one another. Kind of unconsciously, we realized that we shared a lot of the same interests, namely SpongeBob SquarePants, among other things. And we realized that we had a good rapport with one another. We started hanging out more closely. We got to do some group trips. We went up and did our trip up to Sacramento at the drive-in, which was awesome. And actually, initially we were told that our professor would be choosing the groups in the class, but because we had such a good rapport with one another right from the start, we actually requested to end up in the same group together working on this project. And our professor let us do that. So that's kind of how we came together. And it's been fun ever since, right?
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, I think the podcasting thing, Brianna and I both in our presentations about ourselves at the beginning of class talked about how much we liked podcasting, and then slowly getting to know Daniel and Noah. Daniel especially, super into podcasts, loves to talk about them, and then Noah too. And I think we all just kind of thought that we would be the perfect group to go about something like this, because we listen to them, we appreciate them, we kind of understand what that scene is like in terms of podcasting, and so we thought we should be the ones to go about and do it.
Yeah, no, I definitely think just going off of like all of us having that kind of like that central like understanding of like podcasting and that kind of thing is like we all kind of came to the conclusion that like it's like the new thing, you know, like it's the new wave that's going to be like new media, new technology, that kind of thing. Like podcasting is like where it's at in terms of that kind of thing, and like all of us just kind of having an interest in it is just like a huge bonus and that kind of thing, to where like all of us could just essentially gel with that topic, and we're like super comfortable with all that kind of stuff, and it like truly interests us.
So what transitioned from podcast to a podcast class? Like what made us decide from there to there?
I think, well, we actually started off as a new media class. We wanted to kind of broadly talk about new media. It's something that I think everybody our age is very aware of, but you don't see a lot of it in universities, and especially not in community colleges. So we started off as new media, and then we kind of transitioned into podcasting. And the reason why we did that is because we felt like we had a better understanding of that. We felt like it was more focused. Obviously, we can really point in on a podcast class and figure out everything that we need to do there. And two, I think we wanted to create a class that we would take.
Yeah.
And we, in creating the class, I think we did that, but we wanted to create something that people our age would be interested in, something that they would see and they would go, yeah, I'll take that. And new media can kind of sound like kind of stuck up, a little bit stuffy,
Yeah,
but I think,
right.
but I think everybody knows what podcasting is, and I think a lot of people, probably even our age now, watch podcasts, so it just seemed like the best fit for us.
And we wanted to leave, like you said, we wanted to leave a legacy too. It was like, it wasn't enough for us to just leave the school with maybe establishing a club, because once we're gone, right, we don't know if that club, you know, that's centered around podcasting or something else will continue. So for us, it was really important to start a class, because the class, we know once it goes through the whole process, which we will be talking about pretty soon, you know, because it is such a straightforward process, we realized that this is something achievable, and it would leave a long-lasting impact on the campus even after we were gone.
Yeah, and I think a bigger aspect too of like how we didn't just want like a club is like the bigger portion of how if we do like initialize a class and that kind of thing, students can actually use it to go on to like a different university, and then even maybe turning it into like their career, and like that's how they make their like livelihood and all that kind of stuff. And so just having like a club for us, I feel like wasn't enough, you know, like we needed like some solid concrete like kind of thing to make sure that students would be like, I can move on from this and actually use this in my life. I think that was a big part of it too.
Yeah, I was going to say, to finish that off, I was going to bring up the fact that like just simple fact that if you start the class itself, you'll know what you'll be getting into once you actually get out in the real world. Because if you just have a book and you're just reading about it, you're not really going to process it better once you get out there, because you're kind of confused and you're just like, well, I'm only learned it from the books. I don't know actually how to hands-only like do it. So by us forming into a class, I think that was going to be beneficial for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's definitely going to be the way of the
So that was a really good discussion. So right now we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back to talk about how we decided to go into full details about why we wanted to form a podcast class. Thank you.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.
And we're back. Right now we're going to talk about how we decided to go into full detail about our podcast class. So who would like to start about how we went to details, like the tools that we needed?
Sure.
I guess I can take this one.
Yeah.
I'll go first on this one.
Yeah.
But I guess just starting off, just like the basic point of all of us being students, and how really none of us, if someone just came up to us and asked, oh, like, do you want to create a class? We'd be like, we have no idea how to do any of that at all. But us diving into that and figuring out like the different steps and various things we needed to do, I feel like it's like crazy eye-opening for like how we can go about doing that. And so once we, you know, like went towards like creating a curriculum and getting our syllabus and like all this type of things that go into a class, I definitely, like, for me, it showed like there's so much more that goes into it than we think, instead of just like, oh, this class is just here. Like, so much goes into like actually providing that class. I think that was a big part, definitely.
Yeah.
I didn't initially think that we could do it at all. I came into it thinking like people literally get master's degrees and PhDs on how to formulate curriculums.
Yeah.
So my first thought was, a class? Is that even possible? Can we
Yeah.
even do that?
Right.
So now going through with it and getting some guidance from faculty, getting guidance from our professor, really kind of opened my eyes as to how much we as students can accomplish. It's like we came together and we formulated everything. We made the syllabus, right? We made student learning outcomes. We formulated everything together, and now we have it ready to go, set up so it can be turned into that curriculum committee, and that was eventually our final goal, right?
Yeah. It definitely started with the syllabus. I think for us was like the first real thing that we had to do, and that was like one of those moments where we were like, oh, this is a lot of work.
Yeah, like, all of us is like, everyone's got to do this? Like, every class has this?
Yeah, the syllabus was a whole thing. I think getting like student learning objectives was something that we all kind of talked about. What do we want our class to be? What do we want it to achieve? Assignments too, figuring out how we would dole out certain things to students. How would we want to do them as students? I think we all kind of decided that we wanted a more hands-on class. We wanted them to be able to do the things that we were talking about, because that would just be better, especially in a podcast format. You don't want to just talk about podcasting. You probably want to do it.
Yeah.
So that was something else that I think, focused on a lot. And one of the things that I think probably took us like 2 weeks to really like figure out and point down what we wanted to do. And we came up with some really good stuff, some really funny stuff. The podcast out of the hat, controversial topics from about a podcast out of the hat, and that was one was really fun, and that was Daniel's idea, and I think it works really well for what we're trying to do, which is teach students not only how to do a podcast, but how to have a conversation. Not all podcasts are just you having a conversation with your friends. A lot of them are talking about a certain thing.
Yeah.
And if you want to go into this as a job, you may not end up on a podcast where you're just talking to talk. You might have to talk about something real. And so how would you do that?
Yeah, how would you research it? How would you create an outline for your show? How would you be able to talk about it in such a way that people would go, oh, I could listen to that for 3 hours.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Because this is so much more long form than anything we have.
Yeah.
Twitter is short, news stories are short, everything is short. So podcast is kind of flipping the script at the moment. It's kind of taking it and going.
I think that was also a big part for us, just being like, we wanted our students, you know, like when like we're making the curriculum and that kind of thing, it's like, what can you talk about for hours? You know,
Right.
like what's something that you can
Right.
just dive into and like have people just like actually take interest to, and even maybe like formulate different conversations with you about those topics. And it was like, what can you truly just kind of like talk about? And like that was like a big part for us because all of us just love to talk. So
Right.
like we definitely went off of that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say that the fact that there's more than just like talking at a podcast. It's more about the technical aspects of it, the behind the scenes parts of it, and that's the one thing that we wanted to mainly get at, so people won't just be thinking, oh, I'm just here to talk and that's all we're gonna do is just talk and have a certain subject. But there's more to it than just that. So we'll be right back after this. We're gonna be discussing about how we did really well as a group together and how we communicated really well. Thank you. And we're back, and the last discussion that we're going to be talking about is how we worked well as a group and how we communicated really well. So who would like to start off with how we started as a group, like how we communicated?
I'll start. I think we communicated really well, actually. I think we are like group members, but I think we really got to know each other. That was something that we really focused on. I feel like we're friends, and so that really worked to our benefit in talking to each other. I feel like there was a mutual respect between all of us, which was really nice. I know when we were writing our contract, that was one of the things that we actually kind of struggled with, because we all trusted each other to say, hey, I'm not going to be able to come today, or hey, I can't do this today. And then, you know, our professor said, you need to be more specific. I get that you understand this, but everybody else has to understand this. So I think that we communicated really well right off the bat. I think there are things that we kind of found as we were going that we had to work on, but just in terms of being able to talk to each other, being able to get from point A to point B and make sure that everything was done, I think that we did a really good job of that.
I agree. Yeah. I think the biggest hurdle for us throughout this entire project process wasn't us and our communication. It was our ability to execute things utilizing technology. Because for us, we were a little bit limited. We had one working laptop that could run off of battery life, so really one laptop that we could utilize in the class session that we could, you know, put down literally everything we needed to do on. So we were kind of limited in that sense because it kind of had to all funnel through one device. But it was fine. It ended up working out in the end. You know, we kind of worked through the process of doling out responsibilities pretty well. I felt like we all stepped up and we took on what we needed to take on. The great thing about a curriculum is that it has great thing or bad thing is that it has a lot of parts that can definitely be divided up and thought out and formulated on our own computers, you know, away from class, away from home, so that when we did come together and share what we had come up with, it was a pretty simple process of putting it down just on that one computer that we had access to our curriculum formulation software on.
Yeah, and like for the majority of it, I know we all kind of just lived in Google Docs. It was like, that was like where we were all
I think
the time.
we've got like 6 to 8 working
Different
documents.
companies, it's like, let me just add you to this one, and then I'll add you to this one. And so, but I'm just glad that like everything did work out, and like we were able to, you know, let everybody know like ahead of time if any kind of things went up, or like just like that group chat, aside from it being like hilarious at times, like when we needed to get like our different types of things done, we knew exactly what to do. And I think that was like probably like my favorite part about our group, is just like we can go from so many different points in one conversation, but when it's time for us to get together and actually like punch out our curriculum and do that kind of stuff, we were all there like all together and like getting everything through and that kind of stuff. And I think the biggest thing in terms of just group communication and everything like what we're going over in class for all of us was the biggest part was shared meaning.
Yeah.
100%, definitely, yeah.
That was one of the stories. Actually, we encountered difficulty with that a little bit in the beginning when we were going through our curriculum and we decided we wanted to create podcast workshops.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk about that?
What everybody thought a workshop was. I think, that was definitely the best example of us struggling with shared meaning, because we said the word workshop, and at the beginning, we were all talking about the same thing at the end of the day.
Right.
But we were discussing it, and we were like talking circles around each other, trying to explain what we thought a workshop was.
Yeah, and like what we wanted it to do for our class and that kind of thing. It was like all of us had kind of like different definitions, but then like we were all still kind of on the same page, and it was like, so definitely finding the shared meaning in like overall terms and just that kind of thing, that was a huge aspect.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, like, I like the fact that our group, this is like one of the first groups that I've ever been in that we all worked together. It wasn't just one doing more than the other. Like, we all came together and did it together. But I have to say, though, out of all of us, Daniel, you kept us in line whenever we would get off topic a lot, which I do appreciate because we needed that. Yeah. And you always constantly kept us laughing a lot, too, with your weird, like, dark humor. But it's funny, though. It's hilarious. But I like the fact that we can all be ourselves with each other without any judgment. That's the one biggest thing I like about our group.
Absolutely. And I think that is a huge important part of group communication too.
Yeah.
It's like if we had to hold ourselves back, this group would not have been nearly as successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes this class so great.
Right.
With these group communication classes at Solano. It's not just talking about these concepts like shared meaning and ways of effective communication. It's actually doing projects that are going to both improve our communication with hands-on skills, with actually bringing in more than just, your average, hey, I'm going to talk to you about a controversial issue. This was like, hey, here's a problem that Solano Community College has. We have to set up a way that we want to fix it, that we can all come together and do effectively. And we learned a lot in the process. And I love that format. I think it's the best way to go.
That's true. Yeah, it's going to not only benefit us, but everyone around us as well. So, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, and I'm glad to hear from our group. I'm glad that you guys were able to hear our conversation, and I hope to hear from you guys very soon, and hopefully be able to come to the podcast class that we formulated in 2019 in the fall. Thank you.
The exponential growth from the program from my first year to my third year now, that's what keeps me coming back and keeps me excited and just like fulfills me as a person.
It's so impressive, and we every time we walk in here, you guys are doing something different. It's great. It's
nothing but opportunities here, and we have sports to cover, we have the equipment.
Because the more ambitious you are, the more opportunities you'll have.
On-the-job training is huge.
You get the hands-on experience.
When someone asks who can do it, you can raise your hand and say, I can do it. So
Joining the class was the best decision I ever made.
Going to go to cut one. And cut one. Cross court to Audrey Jones. Audrey for three. It is good! With 1.3 seconds left on the game clock. Audrey Jones with one of the biggest shots ever.
the sky's the limit, really, with what we can do here.
College just got affordable. Up to 100% of enrollment fees can be reimbursed for first-time college students taking full-time classes. At Solano Community College, we are taking full advantage of this to further your future. With certificate and degree programs in industrial technology, aeronautics, biotechnology, and many others, Solano Community College is a staple for success. For more information, please contact the Financial Aid Office at 707-864-7000.